Welcome to Macrocode. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. So today we are going to learn how to implement role-based authorization in ASP.NETCORE. So to start with, what is authentication? So authentication in ASP.NETCORE is the process of verifying who a user is, and authorization is the process of verifying what they have to access. So some of the people actually confuse authentication and authorization. So authentication is just like allowing those users who you want to access the system, and authorization is how you will want them to access. So you give them rights to access certain sections. So we are going to create a project and you'll be able to see how to register a user, log into the application, register some roles, and assign roles to users. So to start with, let's create a simple app. So we are using ASP.NET Core. We are going to create our project using ASP.NET Core Web App Model View Controller template. So we're gonna call this authorization. Let's call it role-based authorization. So let's call this role-based authorization. So let's create our project. So for the framework, we are going to use a .NET 7. Then authentication type, you are going to use individual accounts. Then we have check this, configure for HTTPS. Then leave enable Docker. Then we can actually create. So if we do that, our application will actually create. So here is our app. So as you can see on our app, we have some files. So this is the project files. So you can see we have the program.cs and it has our default connection. This is giving us our connection to the database. So it is using ASP.NET Core identity and actually entity framework core. So you can see we have our views where we have the home shared views, and we have the app settings.json where we'll be able to see how to configure this to our database. So we are going to use MS SQL. Then we have our models where we'll be creating models. The data, we have our application DB context, which will actually act as a connection to our database. Then we have the controllers, we have the home controller and areas, identity and pages. Then we have the www root where it holds our CSS files, JS files, and the icons. So under dependencies, we can see we have the packages. So you can be able to see the install NuGet packages. So if we just launch our app, we're able to see a default ASP.NET Core app using identity. So we are able to see you can register a user and actually log into the database. So you can see we have this app. So this is the role-based authorization app that we have just created. You can see at the far end, we have the register button. You can register a user and actually log in to the app. But to begin with, we need to create a database. So let's create a database called authorization. So let's call it a database authorization. So I'll click OK. So I'm going to copy my SQL instance. So this is the SQL instance name. Then I'm going to paste this to our, so we can stop this application. Then go to app settings.json. Then under server, replace this with your server address. Then if you can see, we have the database. So the database, we can replace this with the database name that we have just created, which is authorization. Ensure the names are actually correct. So I'll just navigate to our database. You can see I'll rename, then copy, then I come and paste it here. So one thing that we need to add to our app is we need to allow to trust the server certificate. So we'll do this. You can say, then we can add trust server certificate. Then you can set this to true. So we have trust server certificate is equals to true. So that is it. So we have actually done that. So the next thing that we need to do, we need to create we need to scaffold and add the identity pages. So how do you do that? So we can right click on areas, then add new, then come to new scaffolded item. Then when you see we have the identity section, click on that, then add. So we are going to add all the identity pages to our app. You can see, so this is the identity layout pages that they are there. So we can actually add all of them. If we select that, it will actually tick all, but you can also untick and select the ones that you only want. So for now, I'll just pick all. Then the data context, we'll pick our data context, click on the drop down, then we have the application DB context. Then we can click add. So it will add all these pages to our app. So the application has created all our pages. So if you navigate to identity, you can see we have the account. So if you click it, you'll be able to see all the pages. So we have all the pages here, the register page, the login page, and also we have the manage account. It has some pages, as you can see. So if we just launch our app, you can see our app is still there, and we can actually see we can register the user and we can log in. So let's try to register a user. Admin, then we can say so I'll just give my password. If I click register, you can see it is telling us a database operation failed with the processing. So we have not done migrations to our update the migrations to our database. So what we need to do after we have done that, come to tools, then package manager console, then a package manager console. Then you can see you have this console down here. So we can actually update, since we have not altered anything, we can actually update database so that you have the default tables. So there it is. So it is done. So if we come to our database and come to tables, you can see we have the tables. We have the ASP.NET users, ASP.NET user roles. So that is fine now. So we can try now to launch our app. So if we launch our app, there it is. So we can actually register a user. So just register a user. So save. You can see it has registered a user. So we can click here to confirm the email. So if you set the email, if you want to send the email, so you can actually configure it to share an email with you. But for now, we have not done that. So if we come to our database and come to ASP.NET users, you'll be able to see that we have registered our user. So you can see there we are, and we can log into the application. So if you just get the email and the password, then click login, you'll be able to see we have the helloadmin@gmail.com, which it has actually logged into our app. So you can also log out. So you can see it has logged out. So we have created an app that you can register a user and you can actually log into the app. But for now, we need to do something. We need to create roles and assign roles to users. So what we need to do first, let's create come to our application, then program.cs. So if we do that, you can see there is a line of code here that is builder.services.add default identity. So we are using ASP.NET 7. So for those who are using 6 and below, so we'll do this on the startup class. So we'll change this to add identity. Then here we'll also pass identity role. So we'll pass identity role. Then another thing that you can do, we can actually do dot add a default UI. Then we can also add, we'll say add token, default token providers. So do that. So after that, after you have altered this, let's come and add a roles controller. So we need a controller that will be only adding roles. So what we need to do, we can create an empty controller. So we can call our controller roles. We'll call these roles. So here we have our controller. So come to views, then we add our folder for roles. So that is it. So then we need to do something under roles now. So we need to inject, so we can have our constructor. There we are. So this is our roles constructor. So I need you to do something. You can have private, read only. Then we need to have a role manager. Then under role manager, we pass identity role. Then we say that is a manager. Then you need to inject it here. So we'll say role manager, then identity role, then we'll say manager, role manager. So we need to assign it here. We'll say role manager is equals to role manager. So there it is. So after we have done that, we need now to provide the list of roles in our index. So here, what you need to do, we'll say we want to get the list of roles. So you say roles is equals to manager.roles. So this one will give us the list of roles. Then for the view, we'll return all the roles that are there. So after we have done that, we can now also provide a section to create the roles. So we will define the create, which is a get. So this one will only be returning the view. So it will return the view for creating the role. Then we need another one for a posts that will now save the role. But now we need to pass the identity role here. Then we'll say this is a role. Then if we need to save the data, so here we need to first check if there is if the role exists. If the role exists, so if it doesn't exist, then we need to create. So how do we do that? So we can say if, and we say not underscore manager dot, we say role exists. So this role, we need to check it by the name. So we'll pass the role that we have supplied and the name. Then we need to get it. So we'll do dot get await, then get result. So if it doesn't exist, we need to create it. So we'll say manager dot create, then we pass the role. So we pass this one. So after we have done that, so we create here, we can do new, then we say identity, which is identity role. We need to pass the name of the role. So we say role dot name. Then we need to do this. Then we say get dot get result. So that is it. So then after we have done this, we need to redirect it to index. So we can say return redirect direct to action. Then we say index. Then you can now close this. Let me zoom it a bit so that you're able to see. So that is it for our CRUD control. So the next thing that we need to do is to create our view. So we have our index, which should give us the list of roles, create that will give us the form, and the post action that will actually save the roles to our database. So come to roles folder that we created, we add a new view, then you can add an empty razor. We call this index. Then after we have done that, we need to define how our roles will appear. So we are going to use, so we say using Microsoft.ASP.NET.identity. Then here we are going to now have our model, say model. Then you're saying enumerable. Then we need to pass our identity role. Can close that. Then we can define our title. So we'll say this view data. Then we say we want the title to be, so this is the title. Then you can give it the value. We say it will be create, or we say these roles. Just call these roles. Then you can close it. Then we need to have, so let's have the header. So you can call this application roles. Then we can have the button to actually create our roles. So you can say SP action. So this one should point to the create, that we create action. Then you can close this and we say this is create new role. So after that, we need to define the table that will give us the list of, then you can give the class, you can say table, then bordered. Then you can close this. Then we can provide the table header. So you can do T header and close that, then T row. You can also close that. Then we can now provide so this one will be, say, can do HTML dot display name. Then we can do model. This will be display name form. Then here we can say model. When I'll do this, then you can say model dot, you can say ID. So then you can close that. So you can also copy these and we can now display for the name of the role. Then is there something else you can display? Let's see. So you can say name, and also have the normalized name. Then you can have like just an empty one. So after we have done that, we can now pass in the values. So how we do that, we come here, then we define the table body, then you can close. Then we need to loop and get the values of the list of the roles. So item, we can say this item in our model. Then this is a list of roles. So we can remember this is in our table row. Then we can have now the table data. So for the table data, we are going to define, you can say at HTML dot display name for. So this one will be display for. Then you can also do the same. You can say model item. So we'll say item dot id. So now giving the values. So we can do this again. So this one will be name, and also we can do this. We say this is the normalized name. Then we can also do an empty table data. So that is it. So we have now a list of roles. But to see these roles, let's come to shared layout. Then we need to add these to our tabs. So you can have these, the controller is the roles. Then we can have it, action is the index. Then the name is the roles. So if we launch our app, it should give us the default roles. So just launch it. Then we should be able to access the roles index page with the list of roles. So you can see we have roles. If we click this, you can see it gives us the application roles, then create new ID, name, and normalized. So we don't have any role currently. So what we need to do is you need to create another view for creating the roles. So we'll come to our application. We can stop this. Then we need to create under roles. We create the create view. So come here under empty, then say create. Then add. Then here we now also use using. Then we say Microsoft.identity. Or I can say ASP.NETCORE.identity. Then we are also using our, remember our model, then identity role. So you can close this and also do this and leave it. Then let's create our table form. I mean our form to register the role. So you can have class, then a row. You can close this, then you can say also another div class. Then you can have these as 6. You can close this also. Then we can create now the form. So this will be the form, but the method should be post. So you can have that, then you close it. Then inside the form, you can provide something like create new role. So then we can we do a break kind of, then we can say div, can provide another div class, can have a form floating, then inside it we can have our input, then you can say ASP.NETCORE name, then you can say class is the form, then control, then we can have area required, then you can have this string, then you can close it. You can also have the label SP4, then is the name, and you can also close this, can do span, can say SP validate for is the name, then you can say class is text danger, then you can also close it. So down here we can now have our div, then you say class row, then we can have our button, so you can say button, then you can say type is all, submit, then our class, you can say btn primary, this is our button, then you can have the name of the button as save. So at the top here we can also do div sp validate summary model only, then you can say class txt danger, then you can close. So that is it. So if we launch our app now, we should be able to create the role. So let's launch it and we see how it looks. So if we come to roles, we have the list of roles. So if we click create, you can see it has given us the create form. So you can have the role. So you can say admin. So if I click save, you can see it has added the ID. It has the ID which is unique to this role and the normalized a name. So if I create new, I can say officer and save it. You can see it has the roles created. You can also say ICT. It has the roles. I can also do like CEO. It has created the role. So we have actually seen how we can register roles. But assuming you want users to register roles while registering their account. So we can actually provide this list of roles under this form, so that when we are able to, when the users are logging into the application, then we can control the pages that they are accessing. So we can now implement the role-based authorizations. The first thing first, we have created the roles and you can see how we have done that. So if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing and watching our previous videos. So the next thing that we are going to do is to actually now tie the roles to our registration form, so that you are able to select these forms when we are registering a new users. So how we do that, we are going to go to registration. So we'll stop our app for now. Then we are going to register. So come here. So come to the register mode view, register page. So you can see we have the register page here. So come to the register.cs.html.cs. So come here. Then what we need to do is we need to add the role manager to our So we'll come here and we also had our role manager. So you just need to do this. Come and say private, then read only, then role manager. So then you need to pass, you can see it has also given us. Then you need to add it here. Say role manager, it has done that. Then you need to assign it here. So we'll say role manager equals to role manager. So it has actually done that. So the next thing that you need to do is to define the fields for the roles. So the one thing that you need to do is to actually provide the roles list, get the list of roles so that you're able to populate them on the register form. So, but we need to get the ID of the role that is selected. So we'll do a string, which can be empty, and we have it as so you can actually leave this as a mandatory thing. Then you can have this as get set. So we define that. So add this to after the confirm password. Then the next thing that we need to add is the list. We need to get the list of roles. So how do we do that? So we'll say public, then enumerable, then we need to pass the selected select list item, then we'll call these roles list, then can have as get and setters. So these will be the list of our roles. So before we do that, we need to now provide the select drop down on our registration.cs HTML file. So come to the view page. Then we need to add the selection. So we can copy this, then you can alter it. So come here, then for the input, we can have this as select. Then ASP.4, we can say input, then we have the role. Then form controller. So this one will be class will be select class. Then you can see we have it here. You can remove the rest. So the only thing that we need to do is to add the ASP items, which is coming from our model.input.roles list, the one that we had defines roles. So we'll say roles list. Then we need to say value required is equals to true. Then down here, the label is for the role. Then we need to say this is so we need to say here, actually you can remove this. Then the select, this should be this way, true. Then sorry, so we need to close the select. Then inside the select, we can say undo this, and we say here options. You can provide select option. So you can say select role. Then for the option, we need to add something. You can say disabled selected. Then home. So this is how our view will look like. And here we can do the role. So that is it. So we have our so you can also, yeah, so that's fine. We have our form, as you can see how it looks. Then we need now to assign values to our list. Remember, we didn't assign values to this list. So when you come to our CS file, we need to go to onGet method, this one. Just scroll down, you'll be able to see it. Then here we need to say input is equals to new input. Then we need to do something. We need to assign the list of roles to our list. So we'll say roles list is equals to the role manager that we added dot roles, then dot select this one, say x is equals to x dot, we get the name of the roles, and for these roles say dot select then you say I, then new, select list item, then you need to open these, is still open, then we say should be that way, then we say the text equal to I, comma, value equal to I, then we can now close this, sorry, and put in that way. So sorry, I can do this, then put in that one, can actually close, yeah, that is it. So we have closed that. So you should be able to get the list of roles assigned to our list here. So when we run our app, we should be able to get those list. But before that, after we have this list and the user registers the details, we need to save these roles to our database. So what we need to do, we'll come to on post, on this action on post, and we need to now add the option for user to save the roles. So under this section, after the result is succeeded, just come inside here, then we say await user role manager dot add roles. So add role async, then we need to pass two parameters. So we'll pass user, then comma, input, remember the role string, so you'll get input dot, so this one will be input dot role, the role string that we define at the top there. So this one will create now the role, the user with the role. It will tie the role with the user that we have created. So that is it. So we can try to launch our app now. So let's launch our app and see how it goes. So we should be able to select the list of roles that are there. Remember, we had created roles in our previous section. So if we come to roles, we have these roles already there. So if we come to register, we should be able to select a role. You can see we have email, password, confirm password, and role. So we should be able to select the roles. You can see we can now select the role. So let's add a user test. Then you can have the password. You can also have another password. Then you can select the role as admin. The password does not match. Let me try to match them. Then you can see I have selected that. So if I click register, it has registered, and we can confirm the email. So you can actually set this if you need it to be sending emails. So if we come to our database, you can see we'll be having two users here. But since the first user we registered without the role, there is now another table. We call it ASP.NET user roles, and we have the ASP.NET roles. So the ASP.NET roles will actually save the list of roles that we have registered. So you can see we have the ASP.NET roles, we have the role names and the normalized names. But now we have actually mapped our users to roles. So we have ASP.NET user roles. So if we select this, we should be able to see the user ID and the role. Currently, we just registered one user with the role mapped to it. But in case we add another one, so if we do a register, then we'll say test1. We also provide the password. We can also provide the password. Then I'll also give the role. Then I register, and I can also confirm the email. So if we come to our database, this one you should be able to see too. You can see we have another user with the role tied to it, and you can see our roles are there. So we see we have the roles that we registered, and we have the user already added. We now have 3 users. So you can see. But now, something that interesting now, you should be able to see we have our roles that has been registered and email. So you can see the email to confirm is set to true. So that's very interesting. So we have actually seen how you register a user and map the user to roles. So we need to do something. We need to see how you can add custom field to our ASP.NET users. So these ASP.NET users is the default. We can see we have the default fields. We want now to have the authorization in our project. So we have created the roles, assign users to roles. So we need to restrict some of the roles and users to some areas. So you can see we have our home controller and the role controller, which gives us a list of roles. So come to program.cs, we need to add something. So under authorization, you can see we have authorization. So we need to add another one called use app.use authentication. You must also understand that authentication comes first before authorization. So if you actually copy this and paste it down here, it will not work. So you need to actually have authentication coming first before authorization. So kindly note that. So the next thing that you need to do, come to our controller, then we need now to add here authorize. So it will only be accessed by those that are authorized to access our app. So if we launch our app, you must be authorized to access the roles. That is the home controller. You can see it has actually redirected us to our account login page. So if we log in, so I'll just use a test, then I'll provide the credentials, then I can log in. If I log in, you can see it has taken me to the home page, and here we can have the test@gmail.com. So I can also log out. I can log in with admin. You can see, and I can also access the roles. If I log out, I can log in with my test. I can access the roles. So assuming for those people who will need to access the roles section, the list of roles, are those with admin role only. If you want now to access these list of roles, you should be having the admin role. So how do we do that? If you come to our application and authorize, so you will just do roles is equals to, then you provide the name of the role. So we'll say admin. So all those people with admin role will be the one to access this page. So if your role is not admin, then you should not be able to access it. So let's try that. So if we launch our app, you can see we have not logged in. If we click it and log into the app, if I click roles, I should be able to access the roles. That means I have the admin role. So assuming I log in with an account admin which had no role, you can see it is telling me access denied. So you don't have access to have access to this resource. So we have actually seen how to implement role-based authorization. So we have actually, so if we log out, I log in with test one. I have, this was CEO, so I am actually denied. So if I log out and log in with test and come to roles, you can see I can access my roles. So that is how you implement a role-based authorization. So if you're new to this channel, guys, consider subscribing and watching our previous videos. We'll be doing another video of a claims-based authorization in ASP.NETCORE. So you have been able to see how you register users, you register roles, and you now have the roles tied to our app. So you can see I can have these as roles. So I can also do, let's see, CEO. We try and see if we can access that with a different account. So you can see it is redirecting me to login. If I click that, you can see my access is denied. So if I log in with test one, which had, let's see which was the one having the CEO role. CEO. So let's copy this. I think we had, you can register another user with that role. So let's register. We say you can even use CEO at gmail.com. Then you can provide the password. So select the role as CEO, then register. Then you can confirm the password. So if we log in, we can log in with the CEO at Gmail. You can see it is already logged in and you can now access the roles. So that is how you do role-based authorization in ASP.NETCORE. So if you like this video, guys, comment down below and give us suggestions on what you want us to do next. See you in our next